This is weird. Seriously weird. She's doing a CIA informational video. Let that sink in for a second. Is this just an acting gig? Or is it something deeper? Because even if you try to brush it off as just acting, you still have to ask the obvious question. Who exactly gets a call to do an acting gig for the CIA? Think about that. She wasn't just some random person either. She was a registered actress, someone who even starred in a reality romance TV show. That's the background we're talking about. And then suddenly, she's appearing in content tied to intelligence agencies. And it doesn't stop there. There's this viral clip of her making these unsettling eye movements. People call them demon eyes. Every time she does it, the background music cuts in a way that makes the whole thing feel even more disturbing. It's the kind of clip you watch once and then can't unsee. Now, if you somehow missed everything that's been unfolding, don't worry, because things just escalated in a major way. Erika Kirk is now going after Joe Rogan. Yes, that Joe Rogan. And this all started after he dropped what many are calling a bombshell, talking openly about her alleged handler training and possible intelligence ties. So how did Erika respond? Not by calmly addressing the claims, not by clearing things up. Instead, she allegedly started threatening Joe, warning that he could lose his podcast if he keeps talking about her. Let's pause right there. Who does she think she is to make that kind of threat? And more importantly, who is backing her? Because this isn't normal. You don't repeatedly threaten public figures, make bold claims, and avoid any real scrutiny unless there's something or someone protecting you behind the scenes. And now it looks like Joe Rogan has gone deep into what people are calling the Erika rabbit hole. And he's not alone. Candace Owens has stepped in too, and together they seem determined to dig into everything Erika tried to keep hidden about her past. During a recent podcast episode with comedian Mark Normand, Joe finally let loose. Up until now, he had mostly stayed quiet about Erika and all the rumors surrounding her, especially after Charlie's assassination. But this time, he didn't hold back. They went all in. Joe openly called her behavior strange, unsettling even. He brought up those eye movements again, describing them as creepy, almost demonic. And honestly, that's exactly how a lot of people feel when they watch those clips. Because no matter how you try to explain it, nothing really fits. Is it a nervous tic? Is it bad acting? Or something else entirely? Some people even go as far as suggesting possession. Others think it could be the result of some kind of psychological conditioning. Whatever the explanation is, it doesn't feel normal. And that's the point. Even in her interviews, the way she speaks can feel disjointed, like her thoughts are scattered, unfinished, or oddly structured. One moment she's talking about faith and justice, the next moment the tone shifts completely. It leaves people confused, and when people are confused, they start asking questions. Now going back to Joe Rogan, he didn't just focus on her behavior, he also brought up something far more serious. Her alleged connections to intelligence agencies, and those CIA-related videos she appeared in. Because again, even if she was hired as an actress, why her? Out of all people, why pick someone like Erika? Joe raised that exact question, and then he mentioned the word that seems to trigger the strongest reaction. Handler. That's the theory that's been gaining traction online. The idea that Erika wasn't just connected to Charlie, but was actually assigned to him in some capacity. Now, whether you believe that or not, one thing is clear. Erika does not like that label. Not at all. In fact, there are reports that her team reached out to Joe Rogan after the episode aired, trying to get that part removed. And not just politely asking, but allegedly making vague threats about consequences if he continues discussing it. That alone says a lot. Because if something isn't true, you'd expect a clear denial, maybe even evidence to shut it down. But trying to silence the conversation? That just makes people more suspicious. And let's be real, thinking you can cancel Joe Rogan is almost laughable. Candace Owens clearly thought so too. She jumped into the conversation after someone online accused Joe of being evil for talking about Erika. And Candace didn't hold back. She pointed out what many people were already thinking, that Erika's behavior, history, and overall presence raised serious red flags. And here's the thing about Joe Rogan's platform. It's as big as it gets. When he talks about something, it reaches millions. And more importantly, his conversations often reflect what everyday people are already thinking but aren't saying out loud. So when he brought this up, it wasn't out of nowhere. It was because the internet has been buzzing about Erika for months. Candace even addressed this on her own podcast, suggesting that Erika and her associates are losing control of the narrative. Because once a story reaches that level of exposure, it's almost impossible to contain it. And then there's the CIA angle. Candace highlighted something interesting, how Erika and her supporters tried to downplay those intelligence-related videos, claiming they weren't officially produced by the CIA. But here's the problem with that argument. High-level intelligence figures appeared in those productions, and that doesn't just happen randomly. You don't just walk into that space as an outsider. There are approvals, clearances, connections. So again, the question comes back, how did Erika get there? And that's where things start getting even deeper. Because according to Candace, Erika's background might not be as ordinary as it seems. She attended a school called Tesseract in Arizona, originally known as the Looking Glass School. Now that name alone raises eyebrows, considering its association with controversial intelligence concepts. But it's not just the name. The school itself reportedly had connections to influential families and was built around experimental educational models designed by psychologists. That's already unusual. But then you look at the people involved. Administrators with strong military and intelligence-linked backgrounds. Individuals connected to high-ranking positions, secret societies, and elite networks. At that point, it stops looking like a normal school and starts looking like something else entirely. Candace even raised the possibility, was this environment designed to shape certain individuals for specific roles later in life? It sounds extreme, sure, but when you connect all the dots, the school, the connections, the later appearances in intelligence-related media, it becomes harder to ignore. And then there's the Eastern Europe trip. Officially, it was described as academic research, but the timing? Right after the fall of the Berlin Wall, during a period of massive geopolitical instability. That's not exactly a random moment for a simple research trip. Historically, times like that are when intelligence operations are most active, when movements happen quietly, when people disappear or get repositioned. And later in Erika's life, there are connections to Romania and orphanage work, another detail that adds to the mystery rather than clearing it up. Individually, each of these details might seem harmless, but together, they paint a very different picture. And that's why people are asking questions, because the image Erika presented publicly doesn't fully align with her background. And when there's a gap between image and reality, curiosity fills that gap. So now the biggest question becomes, was everything really just coincidence? Or was there a plan from the very beginning? Was her meeting with Charlie truly random? Or was it something more calculated? At the end of the day, people aren't making these connections for no reason. They're looking at patterns, timelines, behavior, and trying to make sense of something that doesn't quite add up. Because when things don't make sense, the most natural response is to start asking why. And right now, that's exactly what's happening.